2019 is here, boys and girls, and what I can tell you is that there are some amazing books coming out in this year. I may or may not have a video being released Wednesday because I record these videos a day in advance, and depending how I'm feeling Tuesday morning, that may or may not be an option for me. Also, Wednesday I'm picking up my new cat, so expect a cat featured in a video at some point. But now we're going to go ahead and jump into my personally most anticipated releases of 2019. There are a lot of them. I'm actually really pumped for this year. We're about to get some really good sci-fi, some fantastic fantasy, and of course there's going to be a special shout out at the end that I hope you guys are as excited for as I am. But getting straight into it. First thing I'm most excited for is absolutely anything and everything released by Brandon Sanderson. That I'm just gonna put that out of the way. Like, you guys know I love him. I know most of you love him, and pretty much anything he releases, I'm gonna be picking up. I didn't read his recent young adult fantasy book because YA has never much really interested me, but I'm just excited for pretty much anything else he does, and I still might pick that one up because I've heard pretty positive reviews, and if it's his typical writing style, you know what? I'm down for it. It's Brandon Sanderson, so you can't really predict everything he'll release throughout the year. There's at least one or two things that are for sure coming out this year, and he will also just like surprise release stuff every now and then, which is fun for everyone involved. So I'm ready for that. I know you are too. But let's get into more specific releases for 2019. First up, we have Black Leopard Red Wolf. This is being released by Marlon James and is an African-inspired fantasy book. I am kind of getting sick of all of the European-inspired fantasy, so I'm expecting 2019 to be kind of my most diverse year ever in terms of what countries and origins and inspirations I'm pulling from. And starting off here, Black Leopard Red Wolf, I have a weird amount of hype around this. I don't know why, I'm just really excited for it and can't wait to pick this one up. There's been some backlash, people like saying he's pushing some kind of agenda. I don't care about any of that. All I care about is the fact that this is something that seems fairly original, inspired by some different cultures, and is a interesting opportunity for me to experience some fantasy that's going to be pretty different than what I'm used to. Very excited for it. There is some other African-inspired fantasy that's on my to-be read to kind of prepare me for this one as well, because I don't want to go in completely blind to what I should expect. Next up, we actually have a late 2018 release, but I haven't read it and very few people I know have, so I'm going to go ahead and include it here. I know I shouldn't, but it's going to be on my to-be read very soon, and that is The City in the Middle of the Night. This was written by Charlie Jane Anders, and this is a modern sci-fi fantasy book. I want to read more modern sci-fi because I do feel like a bit of a classic sci-fi snob when there is a lot of very good modern sci-fi, sci-fantasy being written. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this one because it's been recommended to me by quite a few people, and I'm also going to ask you all to please throw as many modern sci-fi recommendations that you really love in the comments down below. I have read things like The Martian and Artemis by Andy Weir. Those are very good, as well as a couple other modern sci-fi, but really my sci-fi education and influence has been mostly classic. So if you can throw some stuff my way, I'd really appreciate it. But specifically, the reason I'm choosing The City in the Middle of the Night to pick up is the fact that the description of the book really captured me. It seems to have to do with dreams and controlling them and controlling a populace. It kind of seems maybe a little dystopian, and that kind of checks a lot of boxes for me in terms of what I'm interested in. So it seems like it's got some pretty big appeal to me, and I've heard just phenomenal things about the author and the book itself, so I'm going to go ahead and for sure pick this one up. Next up, we have Luna Moon Rising is being released, but that is the end of the trilogy, which means I can start it. That's why I'm including it on this list. I've had a bad habit of picking up series that are not finished, looking at you, Kingkiller, Lightbringer, Stormlight, Game of Thrones, and it's a little frustrating me for to get to the point where I want to keep reviewing it, I want to keep talking about it with you guys, but there's not more content. So this one's done, which means I can pick it up, I can burn through it real quickly, and then this whole trilogy can be something I review and kind of talk about with you guys on the channel, and I'm very excited for that. The whole Luna trilogy, from what I've been reading online, is very well received. Again, it is sci-fi. It's more of a sci-fi space opera, and I haven't really reviewed one of those on my channel, so it'll be a change up, which I want to do more of. I don't want to be quite so restricted to fantasy on the channel. I want to open the door to more sci-fi because it is a genre I deeply love love, look at my bookshelf back here. There's a lot of sci-fi in the bottom shelves. And many people in the comment section have expressed that they want more sci-fi recommendations from me. I can recommend a lot of classic sci-fi, but I can't recommend much modern. This is me changing that. And this trilogy, especially, from what I understand, is setting a standard that a lot of other authors are going to be trying to meet. It's written by Ian McDonald. I don't know much about him, except that he's written this trilogy, and apparently it's phenomenal. I don't know much about him, except that apparently he's written this trilogy, and it's really good. He's an older author who's been putting out stuff for a long time, but the impression I've received is that he's certainly kept up to modern writing trends, which probably means there's some interesting influences there and a lot of layers to his writing style. That I'm curious about. Daniel made another whoopsie. After doing some double-checking research, apparently Luna Moon Rising was released in 2018 as well. So 2 of the 6 books I was talking about were already released. Whoopsie. Next up we have The Dragon Republic, which is the follow-up to The Poppy War, a fantastic grim, dark fantasy book with heavy Eastern influences. I very much so recommend it. It does have some flaws, but that being said, it stands out from a lot of its contemporaries with some of the story choices, and without getting into spoilers, it's going to be a different read. It's also going to be a very difficult read with the subject material that is covered. It is dark. It is grim dark without a doubt. It's an interesting historical fantasy-inspired story that has some, of course, real elements from things that actually happened in history that were really neat to read about. And I honestly felt fairly ignorant going into it, and like I learned a lot. Even though it was within a fantasy book, it inspired me to go do a lot of reading and learn more about these events. The author shows a lot of potential, and I think this sequel could be a lot better than the first one, even though I thought the first one was very good. I'm excited for this, and I hope this series lives up to my expectations. Now I'm going to finish off this list with my hopefuls. I really hope we get more Lightbringer. I said I've had kind of conflicting feelings on the series, and once it's finished, I want to be able to start kind of thinking back and developing a more in hindsight with context opinion. I can't really do that though until we get some more content, so I'm hoping Brent Weeks finishes his work. Same thing for Game of Thrones. I would love to see not a prequel, but the actual story we've been promised to be finished. There is as well the 3rd Kingkiller book, which I do want to see put out. I may or may not read it, but I know there are so many fans who are dying for that, and having Patrick Rothfuss, I'm not going to say lie, but mislead a large portion of his audience does not feel very good to me. It does not feel very just, so I hope those people get what they were promised in 2019. And this brings me to my #1 most anticipated read of 2019, and that is Peace and Turmoil by Elliot Brooks. I've been talking with her about it a little bit, and I can honestly say the fact that she's a friend and the fact that she is someone who I think is legitimately talented from what I've seen and has fantastic taste in fantasy. Her book, Peace and Turmoil, is #1 on my to-be-read and most anticipated for 2019. I cannot wait for it. Her book will be coming out in March next year. Peace and Turmoil, check it out. And those are the books I am most looking forward to for 2019. Let me know what I missed, because I'm sure there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe that I'm kind of missing out on or forgot to put in this list. So what are your most anticipated reads of 2019? I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Happy New Year. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, hit the Patreon, all that fun stuff. And I really look forward to seeing what you will be reading in 2019 right along with me. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.